I declare the congregation open. Members of the university, guests, and especially all of you graduating here today, it's an enormous pleasure to be able to welcome you on what is a very special day indeed. I'm sorry it's such a soggy one, but we're here to celebrate the achievements of our students from Lonsdale College. I'm particularly delighted to see so many family and friends of our students here today. I know you will be feeling justifiably proud of what your friend or your relative has achieved. You are very welcome. I would also like to extend a very warm welcome to our honorary degree recipient, Mawake Oki, about whom we will hear more in a moment or two. You're very welcome. Degree ceremonies are formal occasions, but they're also events to be enjoyed. So I'd encourage all of you to applaud, dance, scream, whoop, laugh, cry if you have to, applaud at the appropriate point in the ceremony. It's a day of celebration. And I dare say for some of you that might well extend into the night. I say that from experience. I graduated here in 1979. Thanks for making me feel... Okay, you're not getting your degrees. When the world was a pretty different place, and frankly, this university was a pretty different place as well. For a start, it was about half the size. So you've been studying in a much bigger university than I did, but you've also been in a far better one. In fact, it's so good, I'd probably struggle to get in nowadays, if the truth be told. We are ranked in the top 12 across all three major league tables, including in the top 10 in the latest university guide out of about 130 universities in our country. So we're very proud of that. But this is not a university that rests on our laurels. Our ambition is to be in the top 100 universities worldwide. For me, the wonderful thing about Lancaster is that even as we are growing, there is one thing that remains constant. We remain true to our founding principles, that this should be a university open to all with talent and potential. At Lancaster, excellence hasn't been bought at the expense of equity. We provide opportunities for students, regardless of their backgrounds, to realize their aspirations in life. And at a time when there is often such overwhelming pessimism about the potential for social mobility in our country, ours is truly a story of optimism. Lancaster's philosophy is very simple. What counts is not where you came from in the past, but whether you are prepared to put in the effort to create a better future. Today, we celebrate the fact that each and every one of you have seized that opportunity. A graduation ceremony is often thought of something that marks the end of an era, a rite of passage, if you like, between one part of your lives and the next. It is the culmination of years of hard work, and that is a quality that will last you all of your lives. So today is less the end of something and more the start of something else. Not the closure of an old story, but the opening of a new chapter. What you have learned here, you will carry throughout your lives. Of course, if you studied computing, you may decide to build a career in IT. If you studied management, you may well go into business. If you studied politics, then frankly, heaven help you. But I think what you will find is that what you've acquired here is more than knowledge about a particular subject. For myself, as a graduate from this university, Lancaster will always be the place that gave me the strongest possible foundations for my life and my career. Lancaster helped me on my way from growing up on a North East Council estate to having the privilege of serving in the UK's cabinet. My time here was a gift. It gave me skills way beyond my studies. How to learn, how to analyze, how to argue, how to question. It taught me, too, the relationship between effort and reward. If it's easy, it isn't really worth doing. It's the hard things in life that make you. And as you all now know, there are no easy degrees here at Lancaster. Everyone has to be earned through commitment, dedication, and sheer hard work. So today we celebrate the fact that each of you has proven that you not only have the intelligence, but you also have the resilience to rise to a challenge and to beat it. That is just as well, because you're about to enter a world that is certainly not short of challenges. This is a period of profound global uncertainty, even volatility. It has been christened the era of permacrisis, and sometimes it does feel that the world is lurching from one crisis to the next. But it's actually more than that. I was doing a speech the other day and I was asked a great question by someone in the audience. He asked me, did I know what today was? And I said I didn't. I thought it was an anniversary that I'd missed. I said, what is it? He said, today is the slowest day of the rest of your life. Today is the slowest day of the rest of your life. What did he mean? If you think about the changes that we've seen during the course of the last 5 or 10 years, does anybody really believe that the next 5 or 10 are going to be even slower? They're not. We're seeing change on an enormous scale, politically, socially, economically, environmentally, but it is the speed of change that is accompanying that is so discombobulating for people. Navigating it successfully to create a better, and I hope a fairer world, requires, above all else, great leadership. No doubt there will be different views in this hall about whether the world is blessed with that today. But I hope what we can all agree on is that this generation of young people we celebrate today are our biggest source of hope for the future. What we seek to do here at Lancaster is to equip the next generation of leaders with the right attributes to make a difference in the world, to be agile in their thinking, purposeful in their focus, and outward-looking in their demeanour. That is why Lancaster is and will remain a university that is open to the world. We believe in building bridges, not walls. We have campuses in China, Ghana, Malaysia, Germany, and our latest in Indonesia. We're unashamedly a global university. Today, around 10,000 students study for a Lancaster degree outside of the UK. Here on campus, we are proud of the fact that we welcome students from 180 countries worldwide and that our staff come from all parts of Europe and well beyond. The rich diversity they provide on campus not only brings huge benefits educationally, it prepares our students for life in what is an increasingly global society. So there are no guarantees, but the one thing I can promise you is that the degree you have earned from this university is a passport, should you choose to use it, to a lifetime of opportunity. Some say a degree is not worth the cost, and certainly it is no longer a cheap option. It involves, for very many families, real sacrifices. But in today's knowledge-based economy, the value of a good education is simply priceless. So today you join a very special community. Like 180,000 others, you're about to become alumni of this great university. Ours is a community that expresses the very best of today's world. High achievers, great thinkers, top leaders, people who are making a difference in communities both locally and globally, in industry and in charity, in private companies and the public services. You come from very different backgrounds and no doubt will end up living and working in very different locations. But in the end, you're part of a community, all bound together by one common history. So when you leave here, you will take something of Lancaster with you. Memories, of course, the friends you've made, the tutors you've met, the knowledge you have gained, what you have learned from your studies. But above all, I hope what you take away from Lancaster is what you've learned about yourselves. That if you persevere, it pays off. that if you follow your dreams, you can rise to a higher level, that if you listen to your hearts, you can achieve great things. Each and every one of you has proved that you have what it takes to make a success of life. So my advice to you is very simple. Be bold, be brave, believe in yourselves. You have a wonderful, wonderful future ahead of you. On behalf of this great university, I wish you all the very best for whatever path it takes. Enjoy it. You have all earned it. Thank you.
Please may all Lonsdale College graduates who have completed the following degrees stand if they're able to do so. Master of Chemistry, Master of Engineering, Master of Physics, Master in Science, Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Engineering. Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate, I present these members of Lonsdale College who are worthy to receive first degrees of the university. For the degree of Master of Chemistry, Joshua Connell Darlow. For the degree of Master of Engineering, Robert William Brains. Onotide Chirongoma. Thomas John James Cotton. Jack Simon Crawford. Matthew James Hawkins. Ben Christopher Norris. Precious Oyomide Olufemi. Hamza Piracha. For the degree of Master of Physics, Ethan Alexander Dewell. Charles David Hamilton. Ethan Luke Hannant. Benjamin Peter Strawbridge. Max Allen Taylor. Camille Ziutara. For the degree of Master in Science, Elliot Collins Stoneman. Gregory Philip Day. Rowan Fidel. Julius Alexander Ostrowski. Luke Pearson. Winifred Niven Ralph. Avanthika Gayatri Ravi. Anna Haley Wielden. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Sarah Amir Ali Alijundi. Madeline Christie Bamber. Ralph Henry Barton. Ellie Louise Bebbington. Patrick William Bird. Leela Bobbelier. Claudia Rose Britton. Ellie Mae Brooke. Amy Elizabeth Brown. Ella Jean Brown. Rika Shakira Honey Brown. Lauren Jacqueline Burrows. Megan Rose Byatt. Bo Yi Chen. Sophia Natalia Kristen. John Ellery Claydon. Elliot Cousins. Lachlan Paul Cullen. Kelly Boima DeMeo. Logan Luke Emery Dervish. Esther Alice Drury. Zaina Fatima. Freya Amelie Ford. Chuk Ying Fung. Emily Garside. Julia Goal. William Lloyd Massingham Brewer. Anicia Jane Hall. Somke Harms. Katie Michelle Hatt. Ellen Claire Hickson. Maya Sydney Higgins. Jawad Hodgson. Maya Jessica Angelique Hogg. Callie Erin Holiday. Emily Alex Holtham. Angus James Horn. Samuel Robert Howells. Yuhan Hua. Jasmina Tuslem Hussain. Delta Grace Jackson. Janaya Shure Okey Grace. Natasha Jarvis. Emily Jepson. Anya Kelsey. Annabelle Jessica Lee. Louisa Victoria Letkowska. Nyokin Lee. Zoe Lord. Ella Ann Mannion. Alexis Helen Massey. Francis Mark McCann. Kiera Marie McCulloch. Neve Dawn McKelligott. Roisin Mary McMullen. Lucy Grace Meehee. Thea Elizabeth Morehouse. Samantha Panache Mutsiu. Malak Nagay. Rosie Nelson. Macy Sophia Nemeth. Grace Elizabeth Norris. Isabel Grace O'Geary. Luana Maria Altinu. Hikari Ui. Neha Alpana Patel. Anna Popova. Max Edwin Potter. Lottie Marjorie June Randall. Polly Florence Reed. Hannah Louis Richardson. Catherine Louise Runcorn. Sophie Rose Runcorn. Anna Schrader. Victoria Sabianchuk. Cassidit Sensathian. Khadija Sharif. Holly Louise Sharples. Mariam Arshad Shiraz. Ellie Ann Sinclair. Emily Jane Smith. Reese James Spivey. Alyssa Marie Spindler. Nadia Laura Stepien. William Henry Stow. Josh Benjamin Caborn Sudderby. Hoi Luke Tam. Ivan Turan. Grace Lisa Francis Thompson. Sophia Grace Thorning Jensen. Jan Mawson Toft. Isabella Magdalena Waddington. Olivia J. Waterworth. Emma Jacqueline Wetton. Megan Olivia White. Bethan Olivia Williamson. Bethany Grace Wise. Wang Chun Wong. Tegan Elizabeth Worthington. Fi Wu. Wang Chi Wu. Xuan Xiong. Yang Ihua. Alfie Joseph Yates. Elizabeth Joan Young. Amira Zaman. Huao Zhai. Yuan Zhao. For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering, Aidan Zain Al-Kazaz. Noah J. Allen. Luca Giovanni Amella. Tamidul Islam. James Martin O'Malley. William Lewis Oliver. Iyad Osman. Daniel Matthew Short. Alexander Edwin Tzu Kwan Tomlinson. Please may all Lonsdale College graduates who have completed the following degrees stand if they're able to do so. Master of Chemistry, Master of Engineering, Master of Physics, Master in Science, Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Engineering.
By my authority as Chancellor, I confer upon these members of Lonsdale College the degrees for which they have been presented. Many, many congratulations to you all. Well done.
On behalf of the Senate, I here present unto you Mayue Oki for conferral of the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa. Mayue Oki was born in Lagos, Nigeria, and raised in London from age 11. He carries with him a dual cultural heritage that informs his deep empathy for place and people. Educated at the University of Sheffield, he credits his time there with instilling a belief in participatory, socially engaged, and resilient design. Beginning his architectural career at Glen House Architects, working on community housing in Birmingham in 2015, he later joined the RIBA Sterling Prize winners Grimshaw Architects in London, contributing to landmark infrastructure, including Euston Station for HS2 and the Edmonton Heat and Power Energy Facility. Yet even early on, Mayue exemplified leadership beyond the general role of the architect. At Grimshaw in 2018, he founded the multi-ethnic group and allies network, helping to widen participation of the traditionally underrepresented in the field of architecture. This was an early indication of Mayue's concerted efforts to encourage systemic inclusiveness within the world of architecture. In September 2023, aged 32, Muir became the youngest ever and first black president of the Royal Institute of British Architects, the RIBA. And that's the first since the role was established in 1835. His leadership was propelled by grassroots support from advocacy groups like the Future Architects Front and the Section for Architectural Workers, reflecting a hunger for genuine reform. Muir found support in an informal collective of early career architects, students, and architectural activists keen to shake up the profession. Muir's message was clear: architecture must grow inclusive, equitable, and outward-facing. As he himself said, architects need to be more expansive, a diversity of people to solve the big issues of the day. Muir's RIBA presidency has placed a strong emphasis on equity and well-being in practice. He's tackled unpaid overtime, an industry epidemic, and advocated for fair compensation, staff welfare, and inclusive career paths. This commitment includes initiatives such as an Employer of the Year award targeted at studios that model and reward positive working cultures, and the Workplace and Wellbeing Task Force to close the gap between work and health. Another of his signature initiatives has been championing the issues of climate change by elevating retrofit and reuse to the heart of national architecture policy. In collaboration with the King's Foundation, he toured pilot town hall gatherings across the UK, urging communities to embrace sustainable refurbishment over demolition. At COP28 and in Parliament, he's spoken of architecture as a decarbonisation tool, a public good and a voice for the underrepresented youth movement. This aligns with his rallying cry: reuse first is not just beneficial, it's essential. Throughout his presidency, Muir has amplified the role of architecture in the public, political, and policy spheres. In 2024, he warned the UK government that political planning without design oversight risks building isolated, poorly served communities. He's pressed for design-led beauty defined by context, community, and quality, not aesthetics alone. Here, at Lancaster, within our own architecture department, we also champion inclusive design, social justice, and critical pedagogy, principles that reflect Muir's own convictions. We teach our students to design systems, not structures of icons, to question norms and to engage ethically and ecologically. Muir's example shows us that leadership arises from action, and it forces us to rethink what an architect is. We can be pragmatic, purpose-driven and public-facing, but we must respond to climate emergency and social inequity. For his profound contributions to architecture and society, and in service of community, environment, and equality, we are here today to acknowledge Muir's remarkable leadership, voice of conscience, and deep humility in service of our profession. Thank you, Muir, for illuminating our profession with integrity, courage, and imagination. As he continues his journey, one rooted, I'm sure, in collective care, cultural change, and planetary purpose, we honour him today and we are inspired for tomorrow. It is therefore a privilege, Chancellor, to present unto you, on behalf of the Senate, Muir Oakey for the conferral of the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa.
By my authority as Chancellor, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa. Many congratulations. Thank you.
Whew. Thank you, Chancellor, school faculty, good afternoon, proud parents, curious siblings, mildly confused grandparents, and of course, the graduating class of summer 2025. Let me begin perhaps with a story about myself. Once upon a time, in an architectural fairy tale called My Real Life, a young graduate stepped into the world with dreams as lofty as a Zaha Hadid sketch. If you know her, you would know how lofty her ambitions were. Full of potential, full of sweat equity, and only partially aware of various things like what a design access statement was, or a damp-proof course, or a Section 106 agreement was in planning terms. And that graduate was myself. Today, as I stand before you, as the current president of a global institute, the Royal Institute of British Architects, and as someone who during his first year at uni was referred in his structures module assignment. And as a catastrophizer that I was back then, that summer I decided to doubt myself. I started to doubt myself whether a degree in architecture was indeed right for me. As a bit of a way to soothe my sadness, I joined an open house tour of the Lloyd's of London building. And that tour began that conversation, internal conversation in myself. The building, built in 1970s, its shiny metal, its systems outside, showing a complexity of designing. The building I was getting an insider's tour of had a story, told a story that still holds today. Something that is both radical yet precise. This brings me to a term that I recently learned called sprezzatura. It's an Italian term described as a kind of studied carelessness, doing something difficult while making it look somewhat effortless. And that building, the Lloyd's of London building, designed by the late architect Richard Rogers, himself of Italian origin, embodied that spirit of sprezzatura, studied carelessness, radical yet precise. And now I receive this honor for widening participation within architecture. The irony isn't lost on me, especially since I once didn't pass first time a module as precise as structures, because I carelessly didn't follow the marking criteria and couldn't correctly identify the forces in a portal frame structure. But here we are. And in my attempt to widen participation within architecture, I've learned to critique architecture first. It's important to do so, and I'm sure you all have done so within the various courses that you've done. You need to diagnose its ailments and offer up some remedy. Architecture as a profession, as a practice, as a ritual of drawing, sketchbooks, and doing renders, has and become into an identity crisis. It doesn't know what story to coalesce around and to tell of itself. Architecture, from my point of view, is interpretive, not predictive. That means we take information and we, using those information, predict the best future from it. We idolize lone geniuses like Le Corbusier, while forgetting he once tried to design an entire city shaped like a hand. So here's the thing. Stories sell. So it's important to get your story right. Buildings are created through narratives. Spaces carry stories. They collect them, they absorb them. So if you remember nothing else from my speech today, the story we tell about ourselves will either set us free or cage us. It's important to believe that we're all creatives, every one of us, even if we've done a science degree. Because creativity, I believe, is not something that is bestowed on just a small few, but rather it's cultivated like a community garden, tended to, shared. It's slightly chaotic, with occasional rogue plants, And you, the graduates, you are the heroes and the storytellers. You're the wild cards, the narrators who refuse to accept the world as it is. So we're all counting on you to be bold, to be subversive, to throw your whole self into the ideas that make absolutely no sense until they suddenly do. And why is this important? Because at every stage of our lives, we look for idols. We look for heroes, for figures who shape and inspire our ambitions and show us what is indeed possible. And earlier in my journey, I admired the modern masters of architecture, folks like Mies van der Rohe, Le Corbusier, Frank Lloyd Wright. I was fascinated by their ability to create new architectural stories and language that responded to their era's industry. Buildings like the Falling Water, with its seamlessly integrated nature, Le Corbusier's ideas as the home, as a machine for living in, was all thrilling in its audacity. This was an entirely different idea for a kid from Lagos. Let me take you to Lagos for a moment. Not physically because flights are too expensive, but please indulge me as you imagine it. In my early years born in the city, Lagos taught me that stories are very complex, multi-layered, a little bit chaotic, and incredibly human. You don't design for Lagos from a sketchpad. You learn Lagos on the ground. You feel its rhythmic chaos. You understand how people use space, informally or formally, and not how you think they should use the space. So you have to adapt. And going back to architectural idols, the ones that we revered when I was in university, they weren't just copying what came before them. They were tuned into their contexts. And now, as you plunge into your career, I ask you, who are your idols? Should you model the way you practice on them? Or more presently, do their ideas and ideals still speak to today's realities? And over the past few years in my role, I've been doing various town halls up and down the country, trying to get as much as information from our various regions. And recently, in a town hall at the University of Brighton, a student put it plainly to me in a question: what type of architect do you want to be? I felt that it was odd because I'm already an architect, so I'm already doing it. And if history tells us anything, great architects aren't great merely because they were creative or maybe because they followed their idols. They were great because they deeply understood their context and responded to it. And that's what we all need to do. Even the Renaissance architects and virtuosos like Andrea Palladio, Filippo Brunelleschi, Michelangelo worked within their time and spoke their language of their era. In those Renaissance times, the Catholic Church drove Renaissance period, so their work told the story of the Christian faith in domes and sacred geometries. Modernists like Le Corbusier in the late 19th and early 20th century, on the other hand, architecture, their path was forged in the fires of the industrial change, the rise of manufacturing, the advent of new materials, new power sources like electricity, the growth of liberal economies, and the age of the automobile. These architects, my idols, saw a new world and met it with new forms and functions. A home as a machine for living in. So I posit today, the ruling force of our time is the financialization of economic systems, not the church, nor the machines. Arguments for preserving public space or urban regeneration have to justify itself in economic terms. We defend museums by citing their role in local economies. We push to make space for girls in public parks because that results in reduced crime rates and increased property values. Everything today, as we see it, must prove its worth through a financial market lens. And if you don't speak the language, you don't get to participate in the debate. That's where architecture finds itself today. The reality is that when architects design buildings, we shape economies, cities, and policies. Yet too often, we see our role as separate from the economic debate, as if architecture exists in a cultural or financial vacuum. So when we read stories about the folks that we idolize, past and present, we need to read between the lines. They weren't only visionaries, they weren't only master adapters, they understood their moment in time and they worked within it. Now, as you all graduate, as I said earlier, even if you didn't do architecture, you are creatives. And if you want to be a creative, and because you are a creative, then you need to have an economic position. Creativity is not merely a paintbrush or a Pinterest board. It's not only an aesthetic. It's not even a single idea. Creativity is the nerve to say, this matters. As an architect, it is a process where you merge technical, legislative, and economic with the deeply human. As an architect, it is to declare that you see something wrong and decide to design a way through it, to solve a planning issue, to build homes so that people all across the country can afford, to fight climate change with slogans and with economic use of materials, to make joy part of the design brief. This profession, this life, will test all of us. The emails, as you go into practice, will multiply, the budgets will shrink, and it's incumbent upon us to be better at creative positioning. And bad creative positioning will urge you to say, we are the best, employ me or work with me. However, good creative positioning says, we help people thrive without wasting their time, their money, or their planet. By what I mean with this is that you need to be useful. So what do we do now? We have to start with the question, how can I serve in my role, with my knowledge, the common good? How can I make things better than I saw them? How can I create a future that celebrates creativity? And my answer to that question is, we change who's allowed to speak, whose stories we tell, and what stories we tell about ourselves. We bring in the voices that have been left out. We invest in public spaces that don't assume everyone has access to a garden. We teach courage, not perfection. We celebrate not getting things right the first time. And most of all, we widen the door of opportunity. The door that leads into a profession that is worthy. One, in my case, that sees architecture not as a fortress, but a festival, where ambitions comes in all shapes and sizes, and where your story counts, no matter how strange, specific, or unfinished it is. As a wrap-up, my final encouragement to all of you is to embrace sprezzatura, a kind of studied carelessness, doing something difficult while making it look effortless. And when it comes to telling stories, read between the lines about our idols, because the stories we tell about ourselves will either set us free or quietly cage us. Then ask yourself, in what way, in this current context that I live in, can I be useful? Can I be an inclusive world builder? Something for someone that can be of useful change. So I say thank you once again for inviting me to be part of this special day. Now let's go for all to be agents of change. Thank you.
Please may all Lonsdale College graduates who have completed the following degrees stand if they're able to do so. Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Laws. Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate, I present these members of Lonsdale who are worthy to receive first degrees of the university. For the degree of Bachelor of Science, Jesuto Funmi Rebecca Obiedun. Sophia Nadia Desalina Antoniazzi. Charlotte Asquith. Dia Rahul Bathija. Ewan Bell. Sophie Hannah Best. Jessica Alice Bibby. Oliver Allen Bryant. Samuel James Corliss. Emily May Darlington. Matthew Duffy. Eliza Ibrahim. Megan Ann Embleton. Kezia Gape. Serena Grianta. Bethan Griffiths. Ross Joseph Hamilton. Thomas Luke Hedridge. Owen David Hennessy. Hai Tung Lam. Thomas Anthony Lambert. Hannah Angelina Lee. Georgia Fincher Lobley. Joel Michael George McCartney. William Mackenzie. Alexander Francis Maguire. Eleanor Alice Manda. Leo Joshua Metcalf. Neve Bridget Mills. Oliver James Moss. Santiago Maguro del Rivero. Grace Scarlett Peatfield Mutter. Rebecca Ann Phillips. Sam Richards. Cameron James Sanderson. Joseph David Adam Somner. Benjamin David Stanhope. Ronan Tzi Chung Zeto. Chi In Tang. Sophie Rose Taylor. Joshua Joseph Waddington. Anna Louise Walsh. Taylor Cleveley Ward. Sa Lun Wen. For the degree of Bachelor of Laws, Jamie Abad Alvarez Campana. Connie Sola Amdala Abari. Oscar Hilo Cornelius Bailey. Anua Luwapo Abigail Ogiri Balogun. Sasha Isabella Bryden. Rufaro Charlene Chivera. Taylor Dean. Rebecca Alice Denver. Amy Louise Fairbrother. Tishay Angel Folayan. Michael Allen Eggington. Olivia Ebu Moli Fowler. Marsha Yvonne Otima Frempong. Samuel Edward Ashley Gill. Caitlin Louise Gilmore. Oluwati Majo Pelo Olowa Tomipe. Ellie Grace Heath. Amina Hussain. Isabella Sophie Jackson. Karina Denisa Jamani. Ari Angharad Jones. Alan Joy. Aisha Harda Khan. Robin May Catherine Lawler. Paige Nicole Ludwig. Beth Sophie Macaulay. Maximilian Kang Ming Mather. Elise Rose Monks. Nathan Thomas Mooney. Isabella Mousse. Ellie Nicole Netherwood. Paris Scarlett Oliver. Elsa Paoluzzi Kusani. Molly Eileen Pemberton. Oscar David Richardson. Eleanor Ann Schwartz. Dua Rulain Shah. Joshua Daniel John Smith. Heather Eve Snadden. Mia Caitlin Stevenson. Abby Hugh Tung Tang. Lucy Abigail Tate. Willow Elizabeth Candy Thomas. Hannah Erin Thompson. Hope Alice Webster. Please may all Lonsdale College graduates who have completed the following degrees stand if they're able to do so. Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Laws.
By my authority as Chancellor, I confer upon these members of Lonsdale College the degrees for which they have been presented. Many, many congratulations. Well done. I now declare closed this congregation of the University of Lancaster. Long may the university prosper.